Hey, I'm Pops, and welcome to the very first TBT. That's right, Throwback Thursday, where I go back, try to find some good films from the past. Maybe something you have never seen, maybe something you've heard of, you didn't know if it was good or not, maybe something that just slipped under the radar screen. Well, this week we're going to do Towering Inferno. Why Towering Inferno? Because before Jaws, before Star Wars, this is the blockbuster. You're not going to believe this. This film is so good. They had done Poseidon Adventure. Irwin Allen is the producer. They did Poseidon Adventure 1972. Total blockbuster. Now what? What are you going to do? How are you going to? We're going to go bigger on scale in every way imaginable. This, these two guys, Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, you see them there on the screen. They're both so big. They wanted to work together, but then there was some bickering over who was the bigger name. The reality was they're both that big. They're both that big. The cast is amazing. The director is John Guillermin. He did King Kong a couple years after this, and also did Death on the Nile, which a great run, by the way. Can you imagine that? Tower Inferno, King Kong, and Death on the Nile within like 4 years. That's crazy. So great resume for him as well. But Irwin Allen, man, he just comes from a great. He had done Lost World and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. And then, of course, it transitions into this, production role away from being a director. But he understood how to write and direct. But now he did these two projects, right? Golden Globe winner, nominated for an Oscar. Just a great film, and really relatively simple disaster elements. In fact, that become Irwin Allen's nickname. There's a couple of videos where you can see some behind the scenes stuff here, but the cast, oh my gosh, the cast is just an all-star lineup. Faye Dunaway, William Holden, who is like the actual builder named Duncan. Fred Astaire has a role kind of like a con man who's flirting with one of the hot ladies, right? You have Paul Newman has like kind of like a thing going on with Faye Dunaway, right? And then you have Duncan the builder. William Holden's daughter is Susan Blakely, right? And she's married to Richard Chamberlain. Now, Richard Chamberlain, of course, become like a superstar in his own right. But Susan Blakely, you probably might recognize as well, because she was on a real good run here herself. She's of course was famous from a TV show called Rich Man Poor Man. She won awards doing that before she did this, and then of course this led into Capone and Airport 79, another disaster film, and it's just really, really an incredible cast. O.J. Simpson, yeah, that O.J. Simpson is a security officer. You have Robert Vaughn as the senator, Robert Wagner as the PR person who's sleeping with his secretary, which is Susan Flannery, who is another person that you'll recognize from soaps. She was like a Bold and the Beautiful, I think, and Days of Our Lives, right? The list just keeps going, right? You're going to recognize the mayor, which is Jack Collins. You're going to recognize a couple people here, a couple people there. And it's really simple. Giant high rise in San Francisco. It's like 138 floors, right? They have so far up, you have residential areas, you have commercial areas, that kind of thing. They have this giant gala, cut the tape, have a big party, all the stuff's there, right? And come to find out, Richard Chamberlain's character, who is, the son-in-law of the builder, didn't listen to Paul Newman's character. Paul Newman is the architect, right? Cut corners, didn't get the wiring right. So there's an electrical issue, creates an overload. Now, when they do this big presentation, they turn on all the tower lights, like this big illuminating thing, right? So it sets off some smoke, and the fire department gets triggered. But what they don't realize is that by the time the fire department's there, it's in the system. They've overloaded the system so much. It's just one thing after another, one thing after another. And once the fire starts, you're so far up in the air that it becomes chaos. How are we going to get people out? Because they're trapped at basically, I think it's 3 floors from the top. They're not quite on the roof, but they're at the top, right? It's a couple hundred people. Well, this is where Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen is O'Halloran. He's the chief. He's the fire department, right? So you have the architect and him. And at times those two work together. There also is like some tension at times. Um, Someone dies right away. There's intrigue. You have all those characters I mentioned, to be honest, by the way, that you get enough of them very quickly. There's not a lot of time wasted that you get attached to them. You don't want them to die. You're cheering for relationships, and you end up with like even really like bad situation. Like Robert Wagner basically sleeping with the secretary, right? I mean, he's crazy and arrogant, and yet you're kind of like, dude, don't do that. What are you doing? Don't do that, right? I mean, it's crazy, right? So you have the gas line's going to explode at one point. It destroys like stairwell, so they can't go that way, and it culminates with this incredible elevator sequence trying to get people out that way and on ropes, and helicopter rescue fails because these women run at it or whatever, and when they do, the pilot messes up and crashes. It's crazy. It is a crazy film. It's so much fun. It's dated in the sense of there's not special effects. There's a couple of green screen shots, right? That are, yeah, right? Blue screens. They're blue screens back then, right? So there's a couple of scenes, right? There's a couple of shots, right? But a lot of this is location stuff. When you see these behind the scenes videos, you're going to see the actual actors there in the room, not their stuntman, being exposed to this smoke and all this water and all this chaos and this massive conflict that culminates with this moment. And they decide they're going to set off an explosive to allow all of the water tanks rupture and pour the water in and hopefully drown the fire out that way, because they just can't get people out. They just can't do it safe. It's just crazy, right? It's just really good. Music is John Williams music, so the music is intense, crazy, just fun film. Like I said, this 70s disaster era really brought some great stuff. And I have to be honest, I was watching, I'm like, man, Fred Astaire is really good in this movie. They have these moments and you're like, wow, look at the cinematography, look at the editing. Yeah, there's just so many pieces that are really, really good in this film. I can't say enough about it. If you've never checked it out, I mean, you could probably buy a DVD copy for a couple bucks. Like, it's super cheap. It's been around forever, right? I can tell you this. It's a good watch, especially if you love practical effects, older film, good performances, and big name stars, like names that you just want their legacy to continue. I guarantee that I'm going to do these TBTs and I'm going to try to find more Paul Newman work, more Steve McQueen work, a Fred Astaire. Let's do Singing in the Rain. Let's do something like that even. Let's do some of that kind of stuff. Let's not forget the great films in the middle of eras where we may not have as many to pick from. Maybe you're just looking for something else. Family, clean, a couple curse words and stuff, but nothing profane or graphic or anything like that. The sex scene is like total covered up. Faye Dunaway, though, ooh, goodness, was that a beautiful woman? Man, oh man, she's something special, man. Back in that day, man, oh man, yeah. So yeah, just love this film. Can't say enough about it. Hopefully you enjoy this. Love your thoughts on doing the TBT idea, the throwbacks, and trying to do that. And yeah, so that's my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours. I'm going to track down Poseidon Adventure. I'm going to knock that out. I'm on this disaster kick. Now I have a thing for disaster films, to be perfectly honest with you. So there you go. All right, let's have some more fun going out. How about, a little menage a trois of pain? Thank you. Let's just say thank you to all of you watching. Little menage a trois of pain. Here we go.
Looks like it's going to be a 2-on-1, a menage a trois of pain.
Usually you pay double for that kind of action, Cotton.